I'm going to admit on the front end of this segment when we talk about the very serious thing in sports, one of these somber tone discussions, sociological discussions that we have when the circus collapses in your face and you're like, ooh, the entertainment, it's all gross, it's bought, it's greedy, and of course the country club golfers would immediately splinter. Mickelson gambling and God knows how much. Of course they'd splinter. Greg Norman needs more. Of course they splinter and go after the Saudi money, and that's how golf got bought. That's how the Saudi money, not long after accusations of bone sawing a journalist, and that's what we know about, right? Like this is what they were buying.
I think we can drop the accusations at this point.
But I'm just saying they knew what they were buying. Let's go over there with all our oil money that ruins the earth. Let's go and buy golf. It'll be easy. Yeah, watch. Bought. Holy shit, that happened fast.
Yeah, you say easy. LIV Golf, the news breaking, by the way, is the PGA Tour and LIV Golf have merged, and this is a bombshell. No one saw this coming. It was very tight-lipped, I guess, for pretty obvious reasons, because right now the PGA has a member base in their players that is furious. Stugotz, you were telling me that Colin Morikawa is hugely upset. Apparently, all the PGA players found out at the very exact same time we did.
Yes.
That the entity they spurned and decided to not take the oil money, blood money, the Saudi money, and they made this moral high ground call. Now all of a sudden they find themselves aligned with LIV Golf, and they didn't have any time to prepare for it. And it's quite the bombshell to drop on your players.
It seems like a lot of this merger was done to make lawsuits go away, and maybe the PGA Tour felt like they were going to lose a good deal of those lawsuits and lose a good deal of money, which they cannot do because unlike the LIV Tour, they don't have an endless well of money. And so Mike is right. Players are upset because they're not finding this out from their commissioner. They're finding it out on social media like everyone else. And then there's going to be certain players who really back the PGA Tour who are going to feel like they were kind of stabbed in the back today because, hey, we backed what we thought was right about the game. The tour that we thought was the right tour to be on, we didn't leave and take $150 million guaranteed dollars. Certain golfers did, and now they're being rewarded.
Tiger Woods could have had $900 million. There were some who took a moral stand. But again, this is the country club being brought, like this sport, individual greed being what it is. This is shocking for a number of reasons, and given what you've seen during the pandemic, probably shouldn't surprise you at all. Like, this is how you buy shit. It's how you buy shit with dirty money.
This is surprising. This is surprising because from a business standpoint, it didn't look like LIV was working. I mean,
they're on the CW.
They're getting booted off for original programming, and where you don't actually get to see the end of their golf tournaments. No one was taking their video rights. They're paying to be on the CW. Oftentimes just the CW's app that we all learned together was a thing. This is a stunner, and I can't wait for more reporting being done on this because this was a very closely guarded secret, and it came together super fast. And I think we're just at the very start of all the repercussions of this because what about the guys that actually took the money? Those are the guys, they're the smartest guys in the room.
Yes.
And that's why Colin's pissed, because he's like, wait, so I could have said yes to that, and then we would just all be back together now?
No, they're all upset.
I make millions upon millions upon millions more than I would have made here, and all of a sudden I find myself with my PGA card again.
Koepka is one of the big winners here because he took the money, he left the PGA Tour, and just won the last major. I mean, it's crazy. And I understand why certain golfers are upset. But Phil, when he originally started this, said he set out to, poke the PGA Tour and show some inconsistencies and show that they weren't paying the players enough money. And perhaps Phil, was right.
It's just wonderfully, though, symbolic that Phil, of all people, you're not paying me enough to gamble the way I like to.
Yeah.
Well, it was name and likeness stuff as well, Dan, social media.
But he can be right and also have what is widely reported to be, by many, many people, litigiously, a gambling issue, that guy would be like, yeah, Saudi money, like it's artistic gymnastics to have that guy lead this merging of businesses so that golf could be bought.
Yeah, I feel like that was gratuitous on Phil Mickelson. I don't know where. Yeah, we know that about Lefty.
No, the reason I'm saying is he's got a greed problem.
Well, I don't think he's got a. America has a greed problem. This is a capitalistic venture, and I think it shows how quickly Saudi money can really change the game. The PGA essentially had a monopoly on things, and LIV, through all its failings, still found a way to infiltrate it and now merge, and we'll see the details. Did the Saudis just totally get rid of it? Is this a true merger? Are the Saudis now a part of the PGA? How does that make everybody feel that your Masters and Augusta, a tradition unlike any other, now all of a sudden has Saudi money attached to it?
Well, the majors caved. That was a big part of this. The majors caved. They wanted the best players playing in their tournament.
Naturally.
I wanted the best players playing in those tournaments. But I just want to clear something up because, maybe Phil is greedy, but Phil's point all along is the PGA Tour is greedy. They're not giving us enough money. They're not giving us use of social media, our names and likeness. They're taking all the money for stuff that we tweet out, stuff on social media. We want a piece, and now they're getting a piece. Like the PGA Tour has made some drastic changes in terms of total purses for tournaments and generating more income for its players because of the LIV Tour.
I love the symbolism. You said, why take out Phil Mickelson? I love the symbolism of him now getting to be a freedom fighter. A pioneer. A justice warrior. By taking that Saudi money, this is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, his colleagues.
It's comedy.
His colleagues will look to him. And he was already kind of getting this reputation. His colleagues were kind of looking at him because there was more of the pot. The PGA was coming to the table. This was getting golfers a little bit more money. So it'll be interesting to see if history kind of remembers Phil Mickelson, because he's a guy that kind of made all this work. He's a guy that took
Kurt Flood.
He's a guy that took the huge PR
seriously,
hit.
let's make him Jackie Robinson.
He's a guy that took the huge PR hit at the start, and then everyone kind of followed his lead once they realized how to navigate it, and he learned through his own failings on how to navigate the PR thing. I think it shows how quickly Saudi can really mix things up here. And if I'm the UFC, I get nervous because they could just as well do that.
Nervous?
I would get nervous.
I don't think they get nervous. I think they say, whoa, so we can legitimize this kind of business and make some more money on the side. So a couple of interesting things. This morning at 8 a.m., there was a news story about how the antitrust case between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour had reached a roadblock. Basically, the PGA wanted there to be discovery, and the Saudis said, well, we're immune from discovery because of sovereign immunity, and so this was going to get tied up in the courts, and it was going to last for a long time. I'm curious to see what the connection between those two things, that knowing that this legal process would not be swift,
right,
and the decision, all right, let's just merge. They did not buy out LIV. Right? This press release does not say, like, hey, we're just going to buy the tour, buy the thing, thanks a lot. Like, which is, I think, the way we're conditioned most of the time to think of these types of ventures that are disruptors, right? It's usually smaller scale things, and they go up against the big boys, and the big boys say, guess what, we'll just buy you, and now you're just part of us. That's not what happens here. What's happening, according to their own press release, is a merger.
Yes.
They're creating a new entity, and PIF, which stands for the Public Investment Fund, which is the Saudi financing arm, basically, are going to make a capital investment into the new entity to facilitate its growth and success. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't the PGA saying, let's get this litigation out the way, let's just buy these guys out. You made your point. This is, hey, those people that we called all these words in the book, you want to be my business partner now? Mm-hmm. Which highlights, I think, one of the hypocrisies that a lot of people around the world feel about the United States. And I'm not here to defend the Saudis. I know they're pieces of. And I'm not here to defend the Qataris. They've got the same issues going on over there of heinous acts. But there seems to be a real comfort with attacking these people and painting them in a certain light up until the money hits your account, in which case, like, oh, no, they're fine. And that's kind of been America's relationship with dictatorships around the world. They're evil until they're on our side, and in which case, no, they're fine.
But I mean,
they're fine.
so when the politics comes to the playground, I want you to explain the compromise that's being made here when you're someone who came to this country with very difficult to get to freedom to watch Saudis just buy their way in that easily. You know sports business. You know that greed has a cold, is heartless. There's nothing there but get more money.
Dan, I'm going to tell you right now, like what's happening in my country, Sudan, right now, where it's being torn apart by two militarized factions, one the actual army, the other the militia, and they're both being funded by some of these people. Like they're getting their money, they're getting their arms, they're getting their munitions from the Saudis. They are players in this, as are the Russians, as are several other foreign nations. And when I hear kind of like this, whatever. I mean, this is all part of the same ecosystem of money being able to make things go away. But I really do find it interesting that when Americans, for instance, got so up in arms about LIV Golf, oh, how could they? And these people are terrible people. It's like, do you know who these terrible people do business on a daily basis with? Who are on great speaking terms with many a politician? Y'all, you're part of this. You don't get to say, oh, that's awful. In the same way that people were going after the NBA about being in China. I'm like, you want to count how many American companies are doing business in China?
You can't be a Fortune 500 company and not do business with China. You cease being a Fortune 500 company. But the PGA does have a problem with its hands because the marquee faces, like think about how Rory feels.
Right.
He's been trotted out there week after week to be the face of this because he genuinely feels something morally. And now guys like Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson leave with $500 million and now reunification with the league that he was defending week after week in front of microphones. This is a bad look.
Mike, Tiger turned down $800 million. $800 million.
I'd be pissed.
I'd be furious. Like, okay, resign ourselves to the hypocrisies. Even the PGA did plenty of business with their European tour in Saudi Arabia. And the hypocrisy from the PGA was clear. But they were individual golfers that felt very strongly about this, that actually put their principles over money. And now they're back with the Saudis.
PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan will not survive this. The merger was bungled in such a way he will resign or be fired.
Greg Cody of the Miami Herald. We are on the air. What are you looking at? Are you preparing for the show? Are you writing your Back in My Day? What have I interrupted you from doing right now?
To be truthful, I just read about 2 Cleveland Browns players being robbed at gunpoint.
Okay. I mean, you asked.
Your thoughts, Dan?
Yeah.
You
Are they
asked.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're okay. They were coming out of a nightclub in Berea, Ohio at 3:30 in the morning and were robbed by 6 men who got away in one of the players' truck. So but they're okay apparently. So it's
Were you doing show prep or were you just going on a curious stroll through the sports news
I
while not
anticipated-
preparing for the segment?
No, I anticipated you might bring that up, so I was doing due diligence.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
Well, that's your problem.
Well, look,
I
now
was-
who's
if you had, I
unprepared,
was
Dan?
ready.
We're here.
Yes,
Exactly. He was projecting. That's all.
Zagacki. I'm ready for anything, man.
I'm glad that we have you here during this exciting time in South Florida sports. I'm glad that Amin is here, an exciting time in basketball. I would like to talk about, we talked hockey today, and I know we're between games on Heat stuff, but Jimmy Butler in this series, somehow it's tied, but he's looked like not a very good Jimmy Butler. And you know, yeah, it's important to have 9 assists, but you're playing against the MVP of the league. It's going to be hard to win the entirety of this series if you're not getting Jimmy Butler on a night being better than Jokic.
Let me ask you a question. If this wasn't the playoffs and we don't have the very recent, over the last few seasons, playoff Jimmy thing coming to life, would anybody take exception with that Jimmy Butler performance?
No, he has set the bar so high for himself with these legendary playoff performances that when he merely plays like Jimmy Butler,
It's a solid game. It's a solid game. Like if he didn't have, even in this playoff, the game against the Bucks, it's a little bit more inefficient and he's not living at the line the way that he used to, but he still had a good game.
Yeah.
A good game.
Solid.
Wasn't he like 6 for 17
No,
or
look,
something?
listen.
he
This
was
is
7 of 19.
I mean, look.
Okay.
I mean, these are not advanced metrics. I mean, please,
Jimmy.
I mean, please help the group here because
Help.
No, because I do think Amin understands that the margin for error in these games is very thin. Miami is playing a very thinly sliced basketball of we're never going to turn the ball over. It's going to be maximum efficient. We're not going to open the game up. It's going to be deflections and tips and free throws and three-pointers, and we're going to try and grind. Man, I just came in here. You should have heard how Greg Cody and Stugotz were talking about Jokic. They said bad for the game.
He is. I mean, he's not the superstar you want representing your game. It's not aesthetically pleasing. It's just not.
Super aesthetically
pleasing. It's not Kobe. It's not LeBron. It is not Magic Johnson. It is none of those guys.
It's all of them in one.
No, it's a guy who can barely jump.
You don't enjoy watching him play? I find it very enjoyable watching him play.
No, it's an ugly brand of basketball. No,
I mean, he takes 3-point shots flat-footed.
He dribbled the full length of the court.
No, you're right. You're right. Larry Bird used to get up 7 inches off the ground on all of his jump shots.
I didn't say Larry Bird.
Jokic is already in my mind, in terms of what his peak is, a top 10 basketball player ever.
I have no doubt. I'm just saying he's not as.
Stugotz. No.
Okay, you first.
There you go.
Robot?
Undefeated. That noise is undefeated. No, Stugotz, he's incredibly fun. This guy throws passes.
Fun.
He throws passes.
Dunk.
All these. No, okay.
He doesn't look like a fun hang. We can all agree on that.
Right.
But like you watch this guy pass, right? There was a play in the game 2 where the Heat tried to collapse. They threw the ball to Jokic, and he literally just slapped the ball like a seal, and it went straight to Michael Porter Jr., I believe, who cut and dunked. This dude is incredibly fun to watch play. It's just he's not fun to watch do anything else. Like sit on the bench when he crosses his legs. Looks like he's sipping coffee, right? Or talk to the media or do commercials. He's not fun in that part. But like on the court, he's one of the most fun players in the league. And the Nuggets have one of the most aesthetically pleasing styles of game. Like they're like the Warriors. They move around. They pass. They cut. The basketball is great to watch. It's just the personalities aren't there.
He's a more fun, more skilled Tim Duncan in that very boring personality.
Big fundamental.
Everyone acknowledges the greatness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, you mentioned
but
Larry
Tim
Bird.
Duncan was
Jokic
boring.
Yeah, but
they call him the big fundamental because
but
fundamentals are boring.
And you can argue that maybe he's boring to watch. But you can make that argument with Jokic. You just simply cannot. He's electrifying to watch. And I say this as someone that's now watched him for 2 games.
I don't agree that he's electrifying to watch in a way that LeBron James is in his prime. Mm-hmm. Jokic, to me, does not exude athleticism.
You're looking at his arms. You're just looking too much right here.
But
like,
also,
get away from his triceps.
But Greg, also, I would say I'm going to name some names that we've all thought are some of the most entertaining players ever. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Steph Curry. These guys don't exude athleticism. They exude skill and fun and a joy for the game. And I think Jokic is of that same ilk.
I am legitimately right now shocked that Stugotz and Cody, basically this is happening because they've just stumbled upon his game. It's what's happening. They're like, I don't like that he doesn't jump so much, so he's not soaring dunks. And it's like, this dude's been doing this for 3 seasons, and do you know how amazing his story it is that somebody who comes from his past has broken the whole league over his knee. And he's playing this just style of basketball that I will grind my way through you, and I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. I see everything that's happening around me, and I'm not going to – he's a war machine of basketball.
If you asked NBA executives, and perhaps we'll have the chance to do so at Amin's party, who they would rather have in the NBA Finals? Jokic, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, they're all going to tell you Durant, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, anyone but Jokic.
So
Kyrie?
I would leap on
agree.
this. The second name you said, Kawhi Leonard, is a great comp. And someone, even though he's got some athleticism, his game does not scream athleticism. He's not windmilling on people. Most of what Kawhi does is lock down defensively and then come down and hit a contested jumper, which he's excellent at, right? But he doesn't soar. And also, he's boring too. He doesn't have a personality either. He doesn't. No one's tuning in. Yeah, it's absolutely. I think
this is a white thing.
Stugotz is being racist.
What are you
no,
talking
it's
about?
a white thing.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a white thing. I don't. He's the argument that he's a boring watch is crazy to me. It's just it's incomprehensible.
It's boring to me. I mean, Dirk wasn't
agree.
boring. Boom.
He's boring. There.
You guys had
Jokic is
Dirk.
way more fun
Wait a
to
minute,
watch
wait a
than-
minute, wait a minute. You
He-
guys
he
have
boomed
Dirk
you.
as a
Just-
more exciting watch than Jokic?
I didn't say that.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
You just thought of a white guy.
All right, being boxed in.
let's-
He's just backed into a corner right now.
No, but let's examine
with the
this for a
take,
second
and he's-
because it's honest. They were having the racist conversation off
I
air.
said boom.
They were having off air the conversation of I don't like this guy. He's ruining the sport because he's grinding his way to triple doubles. He can score 40, and the coach Spoelstra, who's about to command $20 million a year, is getting agitated. Poor Ramona Shelburne for having the blaspheme to say, "Hey, Spo, it's something you do. Stop all of that." and Spo's answer was, "What are you crazy? To the untrained eye, this monster, this war machine. Do you know how good my defense is? Do you know how I've had Riley breathing on my neck for 30 years, so that I stop that? That who stops that?" Better than anybody in the world. And Cody and Stugotz are here to tell you, not enough.
Boring. Yeah.
Boring.
That's what I'll say. He's not boring at all.
Jump. I mean,
His game is boring.
His game is absolutely like you can't.
His game was boring when he was winning 2 MVP
No,
awards.
his game is not boring. It's
He's
just
not.
a fallacy.
He's not a national
His game-
television
you can't-
darling.
you can't-
TV executives are not going, "Wow, look at Jokic taking flat-footed jump
But
shots."
well,
Greg-
this was all on the heels of the
Jump shots that
ratings
aren't-
being down. I mean, the
Everybody
ratings
calm
are
down.
down.
Everybody calm down. There's a difference between the ratings are down, he doesn't inspire people to rush to their televisions, and his game is boring. He is he plays a very fun style of basketball that is visually appealing. Now, because he doesn't promote himself, he doesn't do what I call the due diligence of superstars, which is your job is to sell this league. Yes, you're supposed to win, but you got to sell this league, and he doesn't do that. And the Denver Nuggets don't do a good job of selling him. Maybe that's because he doesn't want to be sold. And we try to be like, oh, what a noble act. This guy just cares about the game. But I'm sorry, this is a business. But what you're vocalizing right now, Greg, I'm not disagreeing with you about the ratings. I'm not disagreeing with you about the American public. Hey, there's this guy named Nikola Jokic. Watch him. They'll yawn, yeah. But that's because they don't watch him play. I refuse to believe you guys sat down and watched 96 minutes of basketball, this guy playing, and said, oh, my God, here comes this guy with another no-look pass through 3 people. Well, boring.
No, his passing is absolutely great for a man that size.
For a man of any size.
Okay, don't get it wrong. He's a wonderful player. He's a great player. He probably should have won a 3rd straight MVP award. I can appreciate his game without finding it particularly exciting. I just don't. Stugotz and I agree.
I don't
Jazz
think
it up a little bit.
I don't think
That's
you
all.
can appreciate his game. You're not properly appreciating his game if you don't understand how hard it is to be that
But
excellent.
you like watching Magic. He does the same things.
He's Magic and Bird rolled into one.
Yeah, but his
Like
name is
if you love Magic,
I
you
mean,
love Bird. You're watching the same. You're watching the same thing. You're watching him shoot like Bird and pass like Magic and Bird,
Look at his
and
body.
rebound like better than
Look
either
at his
of them.
posture. He's just not used to being like held accountable for this nonsense.
What are you talking about? I
Magic
don't-
was different. Magic had a certain
And his
aura
pizzazz,
about it. Yeah,
yes.
movie theaters, all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Movie theater.
And the name Magic. I mean, it's a big difference.
movie theaters?
Yeah, movie theaters. A whole.
Well, after his,
Magic Jokic would roll off the tongue better.
There you go.
He needs a good nickname. The Joker isn't it for me.
We talked about this in Denver. Like
Yeah.
Joker does not fit him, even though
No. So you agree with Stugotz then?
about the
Yep.
nickname.
He needs a little something to
Little
put him over
pizzazz,
the edge.
right.
Exactly.
What if he dyed his hair
What color?
green?
yeah.
No, that's
No,
leaning into the
taking
Joker,
Joker
thing.
thing.
You want to get away from the Joker.
the arm bleeder.
But that's about his fame to the casual fan.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
That-
That's
but they're
a good
talking
character.
about-
The arm bleeder.
The arm
And the
bleeder.
arm, like just,
Seems limited.
you
Like,
know,
what does he
yeah.
do other than, you know?
Well, he destroys your defense
With his bloody arms.
with his bloody arms. That is correct. He needs better marketing.
Yeah. The PA could go nuts whenever he does
The
it.
arm bleeder.
Seems like everyone's coming around.
He's
huh?
a good nickname. Flatfoot. That would be my nickname for him.
I am.
It's Kawhi's.
Hold on, Greg. I want you to describe to me
Flatfoot Jokic.
a marketing campaign around this.
Oh, Dr.
Flatfoot.
Scholl's. I mean, it writes itself.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you
yeah.
go.
I am mortified
Instead
right
of Dr.
now.
J, he's Dr. Scholl's.
The Greg
That
Cody,
is from, yeah.
Greg Cody and Stugotz have officially produced the single worst opinion in the history of this show.
And you know it, flat-footing it.
It made me genuinely happy to see this man's face. And then Mike Ryan welcomes him in and immediately hits him with a Miami Heat type reference that, oh, look at him. He's still whimpering. It hurt him. This is not a way to greet someone, Mike. To welcome them into your space is by bringing up the heartache of, and I don't know how this went for you, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, but were you just broken? Physically broken?
I mean, I think when the Celtics were down 0-3, I was physically broken and I wanted to break it all up and I wanted Missoula gone. And then when they pulled 3 out and they tied it 3-3, I was like, oh, this is what we do. This is what Boston sports teams do, is they come back and they make history. And then Tatum sprained his ankle in the first play of the game, and I was like, this is not going to go well. And, it still stings, but I believe in them, and they'll be back, and I'm stoked to be here on the show with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Chris, would you rather have them just been swept than having your hopes built up and then dashed in a terrible Game 7?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough, because is the right thing to do, getting rid of Missoula, and if we were swept, maybe they would have fired him, maybe they would have hired Monty Williams. But you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that with your team. So I was stoked that they won 3. I wanted to see it happen. And, maybe they'll hire some good assistant coaches and they'll get to the finals next year.
Chris, how did the misery of the Celtics losing compare to the misery of the Bruins losing?
This is brutal, guys. My God.
Welcome to our world.
You've done plenty of winning, so I don't really want to hear about it.
I know. I just woke up. I got back from a bachelor party last night. I'm like, I still got like drugs flushing out of my system, and now you're going to make me cry right now?
We're having a party on Thursday down here if you want to make it down to Miami.
All right, maybe. Definitely the Celtics. It goes Celtics, Patriots, Red Sox, Bruins for me. I don't follow the Bruins as tightly as I do the other teams, but when they have the most historic season in NHL history, you're like, this is a cakewalk, and then they blow it to another South Floridian team.
You're on with us because has it been Mike Ryan? Somebody's been talking about stars on Mars around here for a couple of days. They want to talk about this show, and I haven't seen it yet. Mike, why are you so enthused about it?
I love the concept. A few years ago, there was this podcast that I loved listening to. It was called The Habitat, and it was about astronauts that trained in a remote place in, I think it was the Big Island of Hawaii. And the topography is, everything is made to feel like Mars, and this is how they prepare for these potential missions to Mars. And I was fascinated by it. I love the podcast, and someone decided to make a show out of it, but a show with celebrities, and that fascinated me. And recently, I saw Ariel Winters on the show from Modern Family, and she was honored to be alongside a real astronaut during the show. Unfortunately, she thought Lance Armstrong was the real astronaut.
Brilliant content. Ariel Winters, a legend. I had a tough time being there because I'm so used to like hiding behind dialogue and a character, and to be myself, being filmed 24/7 with 60 cameras in every room. I'm like, you ride the emotions of a day, which is happiness, sadness, tiredness, excitedness. And you're like, I'm being filmed when this is all happening. I didn't know what to do. And Ariel, she just has this brilliant moment of thinking Lance Armstrong is Neil Armstrong. And I'm like, that's good content. Like that, she's nervous of how she's going to be perceived at that moment. I'm like, no, that's entertainment right there. That's the good stuff. But I listen to The Habitat as well. And our show is nothing like that. It is... you got Marshawn Lynch there, and he's not going to allow you to actually throw him out. Marshawn wants his Hennessy,
it really is. You must have some good stories there. Marshawn is always Marshawn. He's not putting on airs for any Hollywood types.
Dude, I mean, he was saying the F word every other word. I didn't know how it was going to happen on Fox, but he's brilliant. He is the most real human being I've ever met. And we voted him commander in episode 1, and he was like defending his boys. Like, they didn't give us our luggage until the second day, and Lance Armstrong needed his reading glasses. And so Marshawn's just like, yo, producers, They're just screaming at the top of his lungs, "Get OG his glasses, dog!" And completely just kind of pushing the game aside. I was like, I'm in. This guy's the greatest.
Who's gonna say no?
Exactly.
Wait, so you guys don't actually go to Mars?
Really, Chris? Really? Go sit.
It'd be sick if we were the first people to ever land on Mars.
Go sit in the penalty box.
I mean, with all this training, one of you should at least make the cut.
I know. Well, the thing is, no one's ever been to Mars, and it would be wild if Fox was like, "I'm gonna put Ronda Rousey. She's gonna be the first person ever." And like astronauts are trying
for a reality show.
We were in the middle of the outback in Australia in a mining town called Coober Pedy. It was a very cool place.
When you were sitting in the great seats watching Boston lose, you were there for Game 7? You were.
I was there. No. I was there for Game 5 and they won, and then I flew to Miami for Game 6, where Derek White had the hand of God to 0.2-second layup. So I was 3-0 this year going to the Garden. So maybe my mistake was not being there for Game 7.
It's on you. It is.
I know, man.
You got to show up to Game 7.
They had Jack Harlow courtside, and he has a song about Tyler Hero.
That's right. That's what happened. That's right. That's
Look
correct.
at that, man.
That is correct.
You didn't show up to the game. You can't blame anyone but yourself.
You're right. Maybe he got my ticket. Maybe that's why I'm bitter.
How can you help us understand? Because I do believe Fame. I don't know how old you were when Fame first came, but I would imagine your life was thrown sideways by everything that happened with becoming McLovin, right? I don't like is there any handbook?
Andrew Perloff?
Is there any handbook given to anybody that allows them to sort of try and figure out how to navigate everything that happens after that?
I mean, no, you just kind of, so I was 17 when Superbad came out, so you're correct. It was 16 years ago, which is very crazy. And it's pretty amazing that people still want to talk about it this far along later. But yeah, there's no real way to handle it. You know, Seth Rogen gave me some advice when it came out, and his advice was don't do another high school movie again, because I think I could have easily got locked into doing a bunch of high school stuff. I got really distracted. I got a man who's
he's on Mars.
A man who's pretending to float on Mars.
He's not pretending to be on Mars. We sent him away here
because very clearly never watched Total Recall.
He's very entertaining.
Is that what Mars was like?
That was exactly what it was like, dude. That was spot on. That is the show. You don't need to go watch the show. Just watch this man right here. He's nailing it. But it was super intense. But people running up to me at 18 years old, grabbing my face, doing the "I got a boner" line, and me just being like, I want to be a kid. I want to smoke weed. What's going on? But I had great friends and family to kind of guide me along, and now I'm here on the Dan Le Batard Show, living it up, baby. Life's good.
Chris, in basketball and sports, there's always this concept of vets that look after the young rookies and show them the ropes of the industry. You mentioned Seth Rogen. Who are some of the vets who showed you the ropes of the industry?
I mean, definitely Seth and Evan Goldberg, who wrote Superbad. Judd Apatow, they kind of took me under their wing. I think they could have realized maybe I would have gone a different party avenue, drug avenue, if I didn't have their guidance. But it's funny because I kind of feel right now, one of my close friends, Nicholas Braun, is on Succession, and he plays a similar he plays Cousin Greg, and I played McLovin, and they're both in that kind of echelon of one character names, and he feels like he's done his research watching me kind of combat the McLovin thing on the streets, and he finds himself giving answers when people are like, "Are you Cousin Greg?" He's like, yeah, I am. Yeah, but my name's Nick. And he's like, "I learned that from you, from watching you on the street. Are you McLovin?" I'm like, "Yeah, but my name's Chris." And so I feel like I'm kind of helping him out a little bit.
And do you always meet that with grace, or sometimes are you surly, you got an emergency, you don't want to be McLovin, then you want to not be like I would imagine that it would be annoying right now to be Cousin Greg in public, just because he's very tall, and he's going to be seen by a lot of people, and
Totally.
People do not respect your space anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to ask it is, do you handle it with grace? I think if the people that are coming up to you and are treating you with respect, then you're going to give respect back. Maybe they don't know my name is Chris. Maybe they don't know his name is Nick. So they go, "Oh, like Cousin Greg, I'm a huge fan. McLovin, I'm a huge fan." It's like, great, awesome. Like, I'm down to talk to you. But there are those people that don't care. I met someone at the Celtics game that's like, "Hey, McLovin." I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on? My name's Chris." And he's just like, "I'm calling you McLovin. I don't care. I don't care. I'm calling you this." And I'm like, "All right, like I'm trying to have that connection with you so you kind of get to know the real me, but you only see me in this one light." And that's fine. There's no issue with that, but that's kind of as far as our relationship will go.
It is. You will decide decisively there that you and I will not be friends. This connection ends right now.
I'm not bringing you home to meet my parents if you're screaming McLovin still. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the case.
Chris, here's the question. If you had to be identified by one role in your career, which one would you pick?
I mean, the world has chosen for me that it is McLovin, and it's I owe everything to that role. I'd be bitter if I was upset that people loved that movie, loved that character. It has given me everything. It gave me Kick-Ass, role models, Kick-Ass 2, Neighbors 1, Neighbors 2, all the animated stuff I've done. I go to the Celtics game, and Robert Williams is like so excited to meet me because of that movie. I'm like, in what world would this ever happen? It is a gift, and I'm very grateful for it.
Chris, when you were cast on this show with Tom Schwartz of Vanderpump Rules, I'm sure you didn't expect to find yourself in the middle of Scandival. How have you been able to navigate that tricky situation?
I didn't know who he was. I'd never seen the show. He just walked in. I was like, oh, he's just a very charming, handsome guy, very sweet. Can you run me through what the Scandival thing is? I feel like this crowd doesn't know what it is. I feel like the Dan Le Batard Show does not know what the Scandival is.
Well, Billy is here to help you. Thank you for bringing that up because, yes, it's a gossipy, fun item. Go ahead, Billy.
Well, so essentially there's a show called Vanderpump Rules where there's a bunch of people who are bartenders at one of Lisa Vanderpump's restaurants, and they all cheat on each other. And for 10 years, they've all been cheating on each other. But
wildly popular show.
Yeah, this year Tom Sandoval, I guess last year Tom Sandoval, not to be confused with Tom Schwartz, who you are friends with. He's friends with Tom Sandoval. Tom Sandoval cheated on Ariana, and that was a big no-no. Even though the way that relationship started was kind of questionable because at the time Tom Sandoval was dating Kristen Doute. So then Ariana got in the picture. They only kissed, no more than that, and then they ended up in a relationship together. Fast forward to 10 years now, season 10, and then he had a relationship with Raquel, who was really known as Rachel. Well, what did you guys talk about on Mars? I mean, Tom Schwartz is not that deep.
Well, dude, I didn't, you guys haven't seen the show, but it aired last night. I don't last very long on it. So I have
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Oh, man.
Spoiler alert.
Come on.
Hey, man.
Spoiler alert.
I wanted to catch up.
Mondays, 8 p.m. on Fox.
I made it. Maybe I make it episode 2. Maybe I make it episode 3. We don't know. I don't make it very long. So I didn't dig into the Sandoval of things, the Scandival of things. But he's a very sweet man. And I wish Tom Schwartz, if he's not a POS, if he's not one, I wish him the best.
Christopher, we've all noticed the drum set behind you. You play in a band. We'd like you, if you don't mind, to climb behind the drums. No, I'm serious.
Don't do that.
Take us to break. Christopher. Let me ask the question.
He's not a dancing
but
monkey
you pose it
for
as
you.
we want that.
Thank you.
Come on.
No, he is great. He's a great drum player and a great bassist guitarist, right? You play the bass guitar.
do this.
I want you to take us to break with a little music.
My
What's the
skin
big
is
deal?
crawling.
Well, I would have
sorry.
plugged in a bass if I would have known. I haven't played
sorry.
drums in like 7 years. That was my first
so
band.
sorry.
To the
right
bass.
behind
I'm
you.
so
I
sorry.
mean, I didn't call you McLovin.
No,
I mean,
come
drumming
on.
it.
Come on. Come on.
They're for show.
I got nothing ready to go. Boys. I wish we
you
would have
embarrassed me.
Maybe some air drums. Maybe some air drums.
You
I
embarrassed
wish
me,
we would have
sir.
planned this out, man. There you
Okay,
go.
Chris, thank you for being
Years
on with
ahead.
us. I'm embarrassed. If you want to sing a song with us, we can sing a song about Stugotz being disgusting.
What?
I'm
What?
sorry.
Why is this
How's that
more
any better?
embarrassing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's good seeing you and your whispering eye.
Stugotz is
Yes.
disgusting.
Stars on Mars, Mondays,
told me
8
to ask.
p.m. on Fox. Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys. Love talking sports. Have me on again, please.
Love you.